You know, sometimes life hits you so hard, like a bus you never saw coming, and you realize everything you thought was stable is just a house of cards. Just a little over a year ago, I was standing in the flickering dead light of a 7-Eleven parking lot, staring at 8 crumpled dollars in my palm. $8. That was it. Everything I had left in the world, literally the breakfast money for my 6-year-old Lila for the next morning. And then I heard it. A guttural, ragged gasp for air, like a man drowning on dry land. I looked up and saw him. Massive, maybe 6'3", a thick gray beard and arms covered in ink, slumped over his chrome-heavy motorcycle, clutching his chest. His face, man, it was just draining of color, going that terrible cold kind of gray you only see in bad horror films. He was wearing a deep crimson leather cut, the kind you see in the news reports, patched up with the notorious skull logo of the Iron Vipers Motorcycle Club. A viper, dying right there on the asphalt. And nobody else was even close enough to care. Don't you dare get involved, miss. The clerk, a skinny guy named Gary with eyes that saw too much of the neighborhood's dark side, screamed at me from the doorway. Those guys are nothing but trouble. You just keep walking. I looked at the biker, then back at the $8. I thought about Lila waking up hungry tomorrow, maybe just having a few stale crackers and the last smear of peanut butter, but I couldn't move. I saw a dying human being, not a patch, not a stereotype. I ran inside, slammed the cash down on the counter, grabbed the cheapest generic aspirin and a bottle of water I could find. Gary just shook his head, muttering about me being crazy, but I didn't care. I knelt next to the giant of a man. That choice, that tiny little decision costing me Lila's breakfast, it changed absolutely everything. But to understand the weight of that moment, you gotta go back just a little further, to the morning before. My alarm screamed at 5 a.m. like every single soul-crushing day. I dragged myself out of bed in the tiny, beat-up rental I shared with Lila in the south end of Clifton. I opened the cabinet. 1 scoop of dusty oatmeal left, maybe a quarter of a carton of milk. I poured it all for Lila, making it stretch as far as it would go. I didn't make any for myself. I couldn't. This was my life. Counting pennies, stretching crumbs, working 2 jobs. Mornings at the Suds laundromat, folding strangers' smelly clothes for minimum wage. Then evenings at the Crossroads diner, hustling for tips from truckers and graveyard shift workers. My only buffer, my safety net had been my beat-up Saturn. But 3 weeks ago, the transmission blew out. I couldn't afford the fix, so now I walked everywhere. Miles to the laundromat, miles to the diner, miles home, in these raggedy old sneakers with a flapping hole in the left sole. Rent was due in 2 days. I was $180 short. Lila's inhaler prescription, essential for her asthma, was another $75 I simply didn't have. But I didn't complain. My late grandmother, bless her soul, taught me one thing. Kindness costs nothing, baby, and sometimes that's the only currency we got left to give. That night at the diner, I tallied my tips, 27 $. I added the $4.50 I had left from yesterday, $31.50 total. I needed $3 for the bus tomorrow. That left me with $28. I set aside $20 toward rent, and that left $8 for Lila's food. That was the $8. I folded the bills carefully, tucked them deep in my pocket, and started the 2-mile walk home. Then I cut through that gas station lot, needing to use the restroom, and I saw the massive figure of the biker, Hawk. He was struggling, gasping for life. The clerk told me to walk away. Another customer, a gray-haired man in a faded baseball cap, grabbed my arm, whispering, "Miss, they're dangerous." "You got a kid. Just walk away." But I looked at him, and all I could see was the face of my own grandmother years ago, collapsed on a cold sidewalk, ignored by everyone until it was too late. I just couldn't. I dropped to my knees, ignored the clerk, ignored the fear, and acted. "Sir! Sir, can you hear me?" His eyes barely fluttered open. He whispered just a terrible raspy sound. "Meds! Forgot!" I ran back inside, bought the aspirin, and used the water to help him chew and swallow. I held his massive scarred hand. "Help is coming," I told him, my voice shaking. "You're going to be okay. Just stay with me, please." As the sirens wailed closer, another motorcycle roared into the lot. A younger biker, maybe 30, jumped off and ran over. He was frantic. "Hawk! Oh my God, Hawk!" He looked at me, this tiny, exhausted black woman kneeling next to his terrifying leader. His eyes were wide with shock. You helped him?" "He needed help," I said simply. The younger man, whose name was Silas, stared at me like I'd just performed magic. "Most people run when they see our patches, lady." As they loaded Hawk onto the gurney, Hawk's eyes locked onto mine. He grabbed my wrist, his grip surprisingly strong. "Tell them Iron Vipers owe you," he whispered. I had no idea what that meant. Silas handed me a plain white card with just a number and a small, stylized logo, a phoenix rising from a flame. "My name's Silas," he said, his voice heavy. "Hawk will want to thank you. Please call this number tomorrow." I walked home in the dark with 1 to 50 in change and a business card I planned to throw away. My mind raced. Had I made a terrible mistake? Was I being naive? I'd saved a life, yes, but was this favor going to bring the kind of trouble Gary warned me about? I barely slept. The next morning, I split the last banana and crackers with Lila. She didn't complain, bless her heart. She never did. Then came the knock. It was Mrs. Helen Davies, my neighbor, the self-appointed queen of the neighborhood association, standing on my porch with her arms crossed, face like thunder. "Anya, we need to talk," she said, her voice tight with judgmental fury. "I hear you helped one of those Viper thugs last night. What in God's name were you thinking? They're criminals. You have Lila to think about." "He was having a heart attack, Mrs. Davies." "He was a human being," I insisted, keeping my voice steady. She cut me off. "You are too kind for your own good, child. That kindness is going to get you hurt. You mark my words." She turned and marched back to her house. Her words really got under my skin, man. Had I put Lila in danger? At the laundromat, I told my coworker, Linda, everything. Linda just squeezed my hand. "Baby, you did what your heart told you to do. You saved a man's life. That is never the wrong thing to do." But doubt was a physical weight. During my break, I stared at that card, that Phoenix logo. I finally pulled out my phone and typed a hesitant text. "Hi, this is Anya Rourke. Silas gave me this number." My phone rang instantly. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. A minute later, Silas's voice came through urgent. "Anya, it's Silas. Hawk is demanding to meet you today. Please come to the Rust Bucket Diner on 3rd Street at 3 p.m. It's important. Please." My heart was doing a drum solo. As I left the laundromat, I noticed something. 2 motorcycles, 2 Vipers parked across the street, watching. They nodded respectfully, then rode off. I felt like I was being watched, being drawn into something massive and terrifying. I took the bus to 3rd Street. As we turned the corner, I saw them. My breath caught in my throat. Motorcycles, dozens, maybe close to 100, parked in perfect, gleaming black rows outside the diner. Iron Vipers. I almost stayed on the bus, but I couldn't. I had to face this. I stepped off the bus. The sidewalk was lined with bikers, men and women, all with those serious faces and those infamous patches. They weren't loud or menacing. They were waiting. As I walked past, every single person nodded to me. One older gentleman even tipped his bandana-covered head. I was terrified, but something in their eyes. It was respect. Silas met me at the door, smiling. "Anya, thank you for coming. Hawk's waiting." As we walked through the diner, the place was packed, and then something absolutely incredible happened. One by one, as I walked past their booths, every single Viper stood up. They rose to their feet like a slow, respectful wave moving through the room. I felt tears prickling my eyes. It wasn't a threat, it felt sacred. Hawk was sitting in a corner booth, looking much better. He stood up slowly, wincing, and motioned for me to sit. "Anya Rourke," he said, his voice gravelly but strong. "Silas told me everything. You refused the money. You used your last $8, your daughter's food money, to save my life. Why?" "It wasn't about the money," I repeated, feeling uncomfortable. "You needed help." "I know," he said, leaning forward. "That's why I wanted to meet you." He slid a faded photograph across the table. It was a younger Hawk next to a beautiful woman and a little girl, maybe 7, with the brightest eyes. "That's my daughter, Lily," he said, his voice catching. "Leukemia. We couldn't afford the treatments fast enough. By the time we got the money, it was too late." He took a slow, deep breath. "After she died, I made a vow. Anyone who shows true, pure kindness, especially when they have absolutely nothing to give, I help them. It's what Lily would have wanted. Lily's legacy is the biggest damn thing we do. He looked me straight in the eyes. Tomorrow morning, something's going to happen. Don't be scared. I
Just
woke up
trust
the
me.
next day to a sound like thunder, deep and rumbling, shaking the glass in our windows, engines. I rushed to the window and whispered, "Oh my God!" My entire street was lined with motorcycles, a chrome and black legion of iron vipers, standing in perfect formation. Lila ran in, scared. "Mommy, why are there so many big bikes?" I grabbed her hand and rushed outside. The neighborhood was in a panic. Windows were slamming shut. Mrs. Davies was on her porch, phone to her ear. "Yes, police. There's a gang on Willow Lane." Mr. Peterson, a grumpy neighbor, ran toward me, his face red with fury. "Anya, what the hell did you do? You brought a gang to our street. We have kids here." The crowd of neighbors pressed in, yelling, pointing fingers. Lila started crying, clinging to my jeans. Silas stepped forward, hands raised, trying to calm the chaos. "Folks, we are not here to cause trouble. We are here to help one of your own. Anya Rourke saved a life 2 nights ago. Now, Lily's legacy is here to save hers." Silence. Then a massive trailer truck pulled up. Viper started unloading boxes. "My name is Silas," he announced. "We are a certified nonprofit. Hawk, the man Anya saved, is our founder. We've helped over 3,000 families in 20 years, raised money, built homes, paid medical bills." A woman in the crowd gasped. "Wait, Lily's legacy? You paid for my son's heart surgery 2 years ago." Mr. Peterson's face changed entirely. "Lily's legacy. You helped my cousin, the veteran in Detroit, with his therapy." The atmosphere shifted instantly. Fear turned to disbelief, then to shame. Hawk stepped out of the truck, moving slowly but powerfully, and the crowd parted for him. He faced the neighbors. "I get it," he said, his voice carrying. "You saw the patches. You saw the tattoos. You saw what you expected to see. But this woman," he pointed at me, "this woman didn't see any of that. She saw a man dying and used her last $8, her daughter's breakfast money, to save my life. She didn't know who I was. She didn't care. That's the world I'm trying to build." Mr. Peterson, head bowed, stepped forward, his eyes wet. "I judged you by your jacket, not your heart. I was wrong. I'm truly sorry." He extended his hand. Hawk shook it. One by one, the neighbors began to apologize. Hawk turned back to me, the noise of the bikers and the shame of the neighbors fading. "You gave me a second chance, Anya. Let me give you one." He handed me an envelope. Inside, a cashier's check for $30,000 and a formal letter on Lily's legacy letterhead. "We are offering you the position of Community Outreach Coordinator," he said. "Salary $55,000 a year. Full benefits. Health insurance. Start in 2 weeks." My knees buckled. I dropped to the grass, sobbing uncontrollably. Lila knelt beside me. "Mommy, why are you crying?" "Happy tears, baby," I choked out. The neighbors erupted in applause. Mrs. Davies walked over, pulled me into a fierce hug, and whispered, "Child, you showed all of us how to be better." Hawk knelt beside me, wincing. "One more thing." He pulled out a car key. "We bought your car out of impound. Fully repaired. It's around the corner. Why? Why all this?" I looked up, tears streaming down my face. 20 years ago, my daughter died because we didn't have money. I swore I'd never let that happen to another family, Hawk said, his eyes glistening. "You saved my life with your last dollars." Didn't hesitate. Didn't ask for anything. You're exactly who the world needs. You're exactly who we need. Music swells, feeling triumphant but humble. By noon, my old apartment was transformed. Vipers and neighbors worked side by side. Mr. Peterson assembled Lila's new desk. Mrs. Davies helped organize my brand new kitchen cabinets, packed with groceries. Hawk showed me the benefits packet. "Health insurance starts on day 1, Anya. It covers everything, including Maya's asthma medication. Completely. No co-pays, no deductibles. You'll never have to choose between her inhaler and groceries again." I just wept again. This wasn't just money. It was security. It was a lifeline. Hawk handed me a vest, not a Viper cut, but a volunteer vest for Lily's legacy, with the phoenix rising embroidered on the back. "You're one of us now, family. My first job?" I whispered. Hawk smiled. "Find someone in this neighborhood who needs help. Use those same instincts that saved me, I thought for 1 second. Mrs. Albright, 3 doors down. She's 82, cutting her heart medication pills in half to make them last. Then let's go, Hawk said. We walked to Mrs. Albright's house. I knocked. We sat in her small living room and Hawk made a call. We'll have your prescription filled and delivered today. Full 3 months supply. No cost to you. Mrs. Albright grabbed my hand, weeping. You did this for me? We did this, I said, looking at Hawk and Silas. Together, 6 months later, the vacant lot on Willow Lane became the construction site for the Phoenix House Community Center, named after the club's legacy. I led a team of 5 coordinators, all people we had helped, now paying it forward. Lila thrived. Her inhaler was always full. One day, I returned to that grim little 7-Eleven where it all started. I asked the manager if I could place a small plaque outside. He agreed. It read, "Here, a small act of kindness changed everything. Phoenix House, Lily's legacy." Gary, the clerk, saw me. He walked over, sheepish. I remember you, he said quietly. I told you not to help him. I was wrong, Anya. I'm sorry. I just smiled. We all learn, Gary. That's what matters. Music becomes motivational, then shifts to a powerful, slightly provocative tone. My story started with $8 and a choice. I could have walked away. I could have listened to the fear, listened to Mrs. Davies, listened to the stereotypes. But I saw a human being, not a logo. And that one choice saved both of us. Here's the thing, and this is where I need you to think. If this story is about anything, it's about judgment. It's about the person you walk past every single day because of how they look, what they wear, or what group they belong to. The Iron Vipers? They're still a tough crew. They still ride hard and they still look scary as hell. But they're also the people who, through Lily's legacy, have saved thousands of lives. Quietly, without fanfare, fueled by a leader who understands profound loss. So I ask you, who can you help today? Who needs your $8, your time, or just your simple, non-judgmental kindness? And who have you judged unfairly in your own community? Was Mrs. Davies right to protect her neighbors from a perceived threat, or was she just a prisoner of her own prejudice? Was Hawk's act of extreme charity a genuine redemption, or just a calculated way to polish the image of a motorcycle club? What do you think? Drop a comment below and tell me about a time you looked past the surface and were completely wrong about someone. Hit that like button, subscribe, and share this story. Let's keep this conversation going, because the more people who see this, the more kindness, and sometimes the more necessary controversy, spreads. Now go be someone's Anya.